Oh yeah.
We're back.
What's
Second.
up?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Second week in a row for the Unprofessional Sports Show.
Yeah, man. Been pretty consistent with it. Recording on Tuesdays, coming at you on Thursdays. It's Christian Ballard with Ballard Sports Media and our good buddy
Chess,
Chaz.
Chess Hall reporting from the land down under. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Ballard. He deserves it. He's a good person. And what are we getting into today, Ballard?
Well, last week we dove into Georgia and Alabama to kick things off on the show, and I
Mm-hmm.
figured we'd look at two other teams tonight. I figured we switch over to the Big Ten and talk Penn State and Ohio State, two teams that I think have the potential for the 12-team playoff. I think one of those teams will make the conference title game. It's possible that they both do now that there's no divisions, but I say one of them in terms of I also look at Oregon out there, but I think these are two premier teams in the Big Ten. They have been for a long time. They're historically good blue blood type programs, and I'm excited to see what they do this year, especially for Penn State, who's been knocking on the door.
And Ballard, we got to go over the preseason top 25 poll that just come out recently.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and do that before we dive into these two teams?
Yes, for sure. Let's
Let me
definitely do
pull it
that
up
first.
because, again, I remind you guys, we're working on being professionals, but we are unprofessional. So I have to pull this up real quick. Entertain the people, Chess.
Well,
I got it here. Yeah, you can
I got,
stop talking.
I
So,
got no. Okay,
all
okay. Mm-hmm.
right. So I'm gonna let you go first since your team's number one, my team's number five. But what do you think about that top? I guess top 10 here from Georgia to Florida State.
Florida State at number 10. I figured that Ole Miss should be. Ole Miss is a good place. I think Texas should be over Oregon. If I'm honest. Ohio
I
State being
agree.
number two. Ohio State being number two. I think that's well deserved. Do I think Georgia deserves the number one spot? I'm not trying to be a homer, but I am. Yes. Uh, I think that Notre Dame shouldn't even be in the top 10 because they won't join a conference. And then Penn State's good where they're at. Michigan, the defending national championship, number 9, which is crazy. I figured they'd be at least top 5. But other than that, man, it looks like a pretty good top 25. What do you think about it, Ballard?
Yeah, I think for the top 10, they got the right teams, but I would switch some around. I I don't know, man. I understand joining the SEC, but I I would put Texas number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly, there's something about Ohio State, and I'm not trying to be a hater. I know they're going to be good, but they are not the number 2 team in the country. I might bump them down to 4. I would keep Oregon at 3. I would honestly swap Ohio State and Texas. I love what Alabama has, but because of a new head coach that has to get used to the scheduling and everything in the SEC, I don't know. What are your thoughts, man? Would you put a team like Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin above Alabama at the moment just because of the new coaching staff and everything in Tuscaloosa?
Um, no, because
No,
because no, because if you look in the years past, Ole Miss has got owned by Alabama. You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
Um, even though Alabama does have a new head coach, I think they're fine where they're at. Honestly, I would put them above Ole Miss just by just by their pedigree. You know, um,
Yeah.
I just let's see what y'all's new coach does. If he proves that he's good enough to be the coach of Alabama, then let's just see what he does first. That's what I think. Just see what he does.
So I've been listening to a lot of good sports podcasts lately, and I love always college football with Greg McElroy, and he was breaking down, or maybe it was college football live. Someone was breaking down in the car on my way to work this morning. I was listening to a reaction to the top 25, and they pointed something out. It was interesting. They said something like, um, the last time the number one preseason team won the national title was 2017 Alabama. They were ranked number one going into the season. They ended up winning it. We know all about that. But then also, you have to go back a really long time, Chess.
Hmm.
The last time, and think about Michigan being the defending champs, they are almost outside the top 10 here at number 9, right?
Yeah.
They haven't had a champion that low in a very long time. I'm talking, I think they go back to the 40s, honestly.
Well, you got to think about Michigan. I mean, they lost their head coach, right?
Yeah.
They're not bringing back any players of significance that I know of. And let's just be realistic here. I mean, they beat Bama, yeah, whoop-de-doo, but are they really a national championship caliber team this year? I don't think so.
No, I would probably have them, honestly, I would put them kind of where they are right now. I think going into the season, they have to be top 10 just to start. But I
Hmm.
do look at this list and I say Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State are the three teams in the Big Ten that are definitely going to finish above Michigan, at least at the moment, because Sharon Moore, I think he's going to do good, but he's got a lot of talent to replace. He's got a tough schedule,
Hmm.
and he's never been a head coach. He doesn't know what he's getting into at the moment, and it's going to be a wake up call.
And you know what, Ballard, and this is going to be a hot take. I think Dan Lanning's going to win Coach of the Year.
He could, very much so.
I do think because Dan Lanning's got that Kirby Smart method, and Kirby Smart got that method from Nick Saban, and
Yep.
Dan Lanning's going to do good. I give him credit where credit's due, but like I said though, I don't like being number one. Honestly, it puts a big target on your back. I don't like being number one at all.
Nah, but I mean, you can't blame them for what they did to Georgia in this top 25. They are
Yeah,
the best program right now. They are the best team, and until someone knocks them off, I think they're going to stay at number one until they lose a game. And I do think they lose a game somewhere. If I'm
yes,
being honest, I think it's either Texas or Ole Miss, one of those games, and both of those teams, obviously, as you see in your top six.
yeah. But what the good thing about it this year is you can lose one or two games and still get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we're going to have a two-loss national championship team eventually, which I don't
yeah.
like that. I really don't like that. I really don't like that at all. I
Yeah,
really don't.
unless because sometimes you do have a two-loss conference champ, which I could get that if they win their conference with two losses, they're automatically in. I'm cool with that. It's the at-large bids that make me want to scratch my head a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you win your conference, you deserve to be. Depends on what your record is. If you win your conference, you deserve to be in the playoffs. Like Georgia losing against y'all last year, we didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. Let's be realistic here. Could we have
Yeah.
won it? Yeah, but we didn't deserve to be in there because we didn't win our conference championship.
Well, there's not 12
I think
conferences,
we were the
so
best. I
there's
think
there's
if I'm being honest, I think we were the best one-loss team in the country. Could you give me that at least,
yeah,
Ballard?
for sure, no doubt.
Yes. Okay.
At the end of the year, at least. I mean,
Yes.
Alabama lost to Texas, still won the SEC,
I
and
think
then
in
you
a
also had
yeah.
um, who else made the playoffs? Texas. I mean, they lost to Oklahoma. They had a significant win over Alabama. I mean, it happens, but
I
when
mean,
you look at
yeah.
yeah,
Bama. I think if we would have played Bama again, I think we could have beat them. Honestly, a couple of mistakes in
yeah,
that game. A couple of mistakes like the catch that Bama had that was not a catch. Obviously, I mean I'm not bitching or complaining about it because
right.
it's done and over with. But uh, a couple things go right for us in that game, we win it. But and maybe 3 year in a row national champions, which I don't think we're going to have a 3 year in a row national champion in the next couple of years. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Georgia and Bama were the closest teams to do it.
I don't think we ever have it, and I'm also going to make a bold claim because of the 12-team playoff. I doubt that we have a repeat champion. Not ever again, but in the near future. Would you agree?
I would. Yes, I would agree because it's going to make it a lot tougher. I mean, let's be honest here. At the playoffs this year, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to get smoked, like bad,
Yeah.
like going to get TCU smoked bad in the national championship. But
And it's
I
gonna suck because you don't want to see that. Like
no,
you want good championships, you want the ratings if you're ESPN. So get the teams right. Like I think they got it right in the AP poll to start out with. We got to
hmm
look at the rest of it, but like there's you're gonna see some Cinderellas. Like I look at Missouri right here. I look at LSU. I would be a little bit careful. They got Clemson at 14. Tennessee. I think Tennessee is vastly underrated right now at 15.
I think they are, and I think Missouri. I think Missouri finishes in the top 10 by the end of the year.
I think they both could, honestly. I mean, is that possible? I think so.
I'm worried about Missouri, man. I'm not kidding, dude. I'm scared to play Missouri, and I never thought I'd say that.
I
I'm
know.
scared
They
to
used
play them.
to, like, the 2013, 2014, when they were making runs at the SEC
Yep.
championship because they had played Auburn and then Alabama in consecutive years in those games. They were good teams, but it still was one of those things where they were mid. Now they're just constantly improving and they're recruiting in the portal and what they have this year. Eli Drinkwitz is on a roll
It just depends on if they have the depth this year to be able to keep up with everybody. You know what I mean? And
for sure.
those 2 years they were in an SEC title, they didn't have the depth to compete with Alabama or anything like
Yeah.
that. They didn't have the depth. Georgia's got the depth. Alabama's got the depth. It's like, hey, do you want to go to Missouri or do you want to go to Georgia or Alabama? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, I give Missouri
And
credit.
if
I mean,
they,
yeah,
yeah, and if they want to go to Missouri, let's just call it what it is. There's probably some family obligations there.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I would put Tennessee over Clemson if I'm being honest with you. I think Clemson's very overrated.
At the moment, I get if you want to hype them up this year, but I would agree. I think they're top 20, but I would put I don't know. This is where it gets interesting. I think Tennessee's got to be above Clemson. I don't know about Oklahoma State. I definitely would not put Kansas State over Clemson. But I look at Miami here. I look at Texas A&M, NC State. Well, there's only like one or two teams after Clemson, like Tennessee and Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Maybe you make a case for Miami making an ACC run this year, but I don't know, man. Clemson, they deserve to be ranked, obviously, somewhere in the top 20. But yeah, there's a couple of teams that I would handpick here to put above the Tigers.
Yeah, and then
I think
yeah,
LSU's getting too much credit too at 13.
yeah, maybe a little bit too much credit. Um, Look at Arizona being number 21. That's crazy.
That's interesting there too.
Very.
Any teams not listed that surprise you? And if you want, I could go to other receiving votes. Louisville, I think, should be in there. I'm going to be honest. I put Auburn in my top 25. I think they could surprise some people this year because of the way they've recruited. The schedule starts out pretty good, but it does get tougher with Georgia and Alabama. Obviously, they're rivals on the road. It's not the most favorable, but I
Yeah.
think Auburn, like, if they really want to screw some teams over this year, they can do it if they want to. I think I had put them at like 24 or 25, somewhere there at the end of the poll in my top 25. But I could get some teams in here. I'm not buying Lincoln Riley and USC this year. They struggled mightily last year with Caleb Williams. He is now gone, and they're in the Big Ten now. I just don't see how it's getting any easier. So maybe you make a trade for teams there, right?
Lincoln Riley can produce a Heisman quarterback, but he can't produce a national championship. That's how I look
And
at it.
his defense is terrible too.
Oh, his defense has been terrible since Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the 2017 Rose Bowl. There was no defense involved in that game at all, even on our
I
side
mean,
sometimes.
surprised they even kept it close,
I am.
that it
Thank
even went to double OT.
I think that's got to be the second or third greatest football game ever played, in my
Oh, for
opinion.
sure. Look at this. Look at other receiving votes and look at Colorado getting a vote.
Oh no,
Who in there?
Colorado,
That,
no,
now this
no.
is keep about think about it. Think about it. This is not the coach's fault, so you can't blame Dion. But this is the
Come on,
Associated
man.
Press
Let's get
poll.
real here. I like Dion, and I'm glad that he's a good guy. But dude,
Yeah,
like Dan Lanning said, they're just looking for clicks, baby. They're looking for clicks.
yeah, right.
And Oregon went out there and spanked that bottom for him. I'll give Travis Hunter one of the best wide receivers in the country. I'll give him that. If he was on a
Yeah.
better team, I think he could have 1,000 yard receiving season. Maybe, maybe.
It's just like here's the thing, man. There are teams out there that all they have to do is not only win week one, because like even Auburn, I forget they open with some cupcakes to begin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But like win those games, but win them convincingly. And then what you hope for is that a team like NC State or Iowa screws up to begin the season. You'll sneak your like you're definitely in the top 25. And then plus just build your resume. Don't forget the college football rankings, the playoff rankings in October.
yes. No, but I have no problem
So,
with it. The only problem I have with Dion is he runs his mouth a little too much, and I think that I mean, he uses his celebrity status, Colorado. Honestly, let's just be real. So,
oh
but
yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, it's none of my business. He's making money, so good for him.
For sure. So that's the top 25. That kicks off the show. Chess, what do you say we go ahead and look at the Big Ten and start? Let's start with Penn State, then we'll go to the Buckeyes.
Hmm.
What before you look at the schedule or anything, what did you take away from their season last year, and what do you hope for this year for 2024 for Penn
Well,
State?
Penn State, very underwhelming season. I hope they at least get 8 wins this year. I mean, they had a very underwhelming season last year. They do every year. I hope they at least win 8 or 9 games. Honestly, they kind of deserve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, but that's about it for them. Now, if you want to talk about Ohio State, I'll crap talk Ohio State all day, every day. I don't care. But we can wait.
yeah. My assessment of Penn State last year. They're a really good team, but in the wrong games, they lose. I get losing. Well, I don't know, man. They lost to Ohio State and Michigan in the regular season, and that was it. But they had a couple of close calls in terms of, like, they played Rutgers and only scored 27 points, right? They played West Virginia last year in the opener. Now, I don't know. I just like the in-game coaching against the bigger opponents for James Franklin has got to change this year. They lost by 8 in Columbus, which is not a bad loss, but there were some poor decisions. Pressure got in your face if you're James Franklin. That's got to change. Number one. Then you have Michigan. No one was beating Michigan last year except the NCAA, and they still didn't do a darn thing about it.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's beside the point. 24-15 at Beaver Stadium, home of Penn State. They lost that game too. Outside of that, they had an amazing season. Now,
yes,
if we had the 12-team playoff last year, they are for sure maybe getting that 7 or 8 seed after you get all the conference champions and stuff like that. So it's like it was good enough for hopefully this year. They just
yeah,
got to lose no more than 2 games. But even though it didn't look as bad on paper, I can tell that not that James Franklin is not the head coach for the job, but he makes some questionable calls under pressure, man, and it blows my mind
yep.
sometimes.
Still there, brother?
I'm there. You're muted.
Oh, what was you gonna say?
No, that was it.
Oh well, let's go ahead and go on to Penn State schedule.
Right. I can clip some of this. Thank God we're not live. Uh,
Yep.
yeah. So Penn State's 2024 schedule, I'd say it's favorable, but it is going to be a challenge, Chess. They open with West Virginia. Rest in peace to our friend Golden Blue Dude. Shout out to Joey Foster. In honor of Golden Blue Dude, I'm pulling for West Virginia in this game a little bit. I just want it to be a really good game. I can't pull against Penn State, though, because of my grandparents. Then again, Bowling Green, that's an obvious win. They get their bye week pretty early. Kent State's an obvious win. Illinois gives trouble, but it's homecoming at Beaver Stadium. They should win that game and have no problem there. UCLA, this is where it gets tricky. At USC, get the bye week. At Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington at home. At Purdue, at Minnesota, Maryland, and that's it. Here's the thing about me. I will not pick Penn State to beat a team like Ohio State until I see them do it again. They haven't done it since 2016. It's been too long. They did it in a year they weren't supposed to. This is one of those years where they probably should win that game, and they very well could. I think that's going to be their loss on the year. I could easily see them going 11-1, if not 10-2, if they mess up with like Washington or Purdue or whoever. Maybe if they mess up with USC, but 10 wins should be the goal for Penn State. And I know it is a challenge for the schedule, but due to everything they got coming back, I think Penn State should easily hit 10 wins. What do you think, Jess?
I'm going to definitely agree with everything you just said, Ballard. They should hit 10 wins for sure.
I mean, think
So,
about it. Drew
yeah.
Aller at quarterback, Nick
Hmm.
Singleton at running back. They did lose Keandre Lambert Smith, their lead receiver, to Auburn, but they bring back Liam Clifford, Tyseer Denmark, Caden Saunders, Amari Evans. Those are going to be dudes to watch on the offense that could light it up. They are a little bit inexperienced there, but at the same time, man, if their O line improves, all you got to do is hand it to Singleton and he can take off running up the middle, get you good yardage, and ultimately get you in the end zone to score some points, which we know leads to big wins.
Yeah, you're 150 billion% correct on that one, Ballard. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. So,
And
what
I
would your
hope.
prediction for Penn State be?
Um, I'm gonna say 10 wins.
10
I'm gonna say,
wins?
yep, 10 wins for sure.
Yeah. I just can't find many losses. I mean, if they go 10 wins, they drop two games. They could lose week one. They could lose to USC. I don't think they lose any of their home games except Ohio State. And
Yep.
honestly, that might even be their only loss. Now, keep in mind, the 16th of November and the 23rd of November are back to back weeks. They are back to back road games. At Purdue, not easy. At Minnesota, also not easy. Minnesota's struggling right now. Purdue's struggling a little bit too. But they're also mystery teams where you don't know what exactly you're going to get, especially from Minnesota. Uh, well, especially from Purdue. I don't know. They're kind of even on that side. They always have good defenses. They can put guys in the NFL on the O line too. Interesting there. That if Penn State's not careful, they should win those games. But if they're not careful, Chess, those could be losses.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. They need to watch their backs.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would peg them at 11-1 at most. They are dropping a game somewhere, and I think the Buckeyes are going to be too much. Outside of
Yep,
that, I like Penn State this year.
you're right.
Up next, let's go ahead and look at a Ohio State Buckeye. Dang.
Boo.
Let's get it over with. Rip the band-aid off, Chess. All right. Uh, the goal for them this year should be to beat Michigan. Would you agree on that, considering they've
Yes,
lost the last two or
yes.
three? The last three. Yeah.
They're losing to Oregon.
I agree on that. That's something we can agree on for Ohio State there. They're going to beat Akron, Western Michigan. They get their bye week. Okay. Marshall, Uh, be careful because they have given teams like Notre Dame trouble in the past, but that should be a win. At Michigan State, we'll see. I like the Jonathan Smith hire, but I don't like the Spartans this year to make too much noise. Maybe a bowl is possible. We'll see. Iowa could be interesting. I agree they go, and if they go undefeated up until this game, this will definitely be their first loss, will be Oregon. And then we just talked about Penn State. You got Nebraska, that's a win. At Penn State, they could lose, and Penn State could pull an upset. It's happened before, but history has shown that this goes in favor of the Buckeyes. I think it's a definite close game, but at the same time, I would take Ohio State, and I'm not picking Penn State to beat Ohio State until I see it happen.
Yep.
We'll pause right
I,
there. Jess, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. I don't think Penn State beats Ohio State. Like I said, I think Penn State, or not Penn State, Ohio State loses to Oregon. And I think they have a close game against Michigan, but they squeak out with a victory. And so they just lose one game going into the playoffs. But they're not winning the whole thing this year because their coach is a big crybaby. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, let me ask you this: Michigan at home or Penn State on the road? Between those two, if they had a second loss for you, which one would it be?
Um,
I think that Penn State game probably should scare them more than Michigan at home because Michigan's really going to take some steps back.
Depends on how the weather is. Okay, if it's snowing in Michigan, I'm giving it to Michigan. If it's clear skies, I'm giving it to Ohio State. That's how I look at it. Teams play
Okay,
different
that's
weather.
fair.
So
That's true. And the games in Columbus, and even if it was Ann Arbor this year, like the snow plays a factor in that game. It has even I think last year in Ann Arbor it snowed.
yeah,
So yeah, I would I never pick a team to go undefeated. At most, I'm giving Ohio State 11-1. Definite loss on the road to Oregon. If it was at home, maybe that looks different. Go back to Penn State. I say 11-1 lost to Ohio State. Of course,
hmm
the other team we're previewing tonight, but I I don't know. At Wisconsin for Penn State on October 26th, they could easily drop that game too. That could be an upset. They could drop Minnesota late in the year. Penn State's going to struggle, but I see 10 wins at minimum, 11 at most. They are definitely dropping a game somewhere. And like I said, I'm not picking them to ever beat Ohio State until it happens. If it happens this year, maybe going forward, I might favor the Nittany Lions in a couple, you know,
yeah.
couple seasons or so.
Um, I wanted to ask you a question. When do you think Oklahoma State gets a new head coach, Ballard? Because he's a man and he's
Oklahoma
40.
State?
Yeah, he's a man and he is 40. When do they get rid of
Mm,
him?
that's a good question.
He's been on
That's
the
a
hot
really
seat
good
for how
question.
many years now?
Every year.
Do you think they just keep him because of the memes? I don't know, man. That guy's old. He's
What did
like,
they do last year? Was it bad?
I can't
No,
remember.
10 and 4. 10 and
Not bad.
4. They won. They beat the Aggies at a bowl. Um, they made the Big 12 title. That saved them for sure. But I'm gonna tell you this, man. If they go anything less than 9 wins, I think call me crazy, but I think it's time to call Gundy out.
So do you think? Okay, what coach do you think is on the hot seat the most this year? If you had to guess.
Between who? Like anybody?
Yeah,
Uh, Kalen DeBoer. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. I
I say
mean,
Sam Pittman.
yeah, but that's such an obvious pick because of Arkansas. Like, he's really scraping the bottom of the barrel there. But
Hey,
if
yes,
you had to
sir.
pick a guy out there, who do you look at as far as they can improve and have to improve, but if they don't, they're screwed? Like,
Bi-
who's that coach?
Billy
I
Napier.
look at Auburn. Billy
Billy
Napier, I think he's the obvious pick there because Florida's not going to put up with that for much longer.
I don't know, man. They put up with fucking Mullen for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
he took them to one SEC title, and they got destroyed. So, or they didn't get destroyed. They almost,
They did.
well, barely.
No, they, no, it was like 6 points or so.
I'm so glad. That's the only
Yeah.
time I've ever. I've only rooted for Bama twice, and that was against. Well, yeah, three times. Rooted y'all. I rooted for y'all against Florida in the SEC title those 2 years in a row, and then the last SEC title y'all played in against Florida. I rooted for y'all because I can't stand Florida. I wish Florida would just fall into the ocean. Don't hurt nobody. Just let the stadium fall in the ocean. It's not good for anything.
Gosh.
Let's use it as a nuclear test site.
Test nuclear missiles just launch at Ben Hill Griffin.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Jess.
I'm sorry, man. I can't stand
Oh,
Florida, dude. The fans piss me off.
oh yeah.
Clint, okay. Do you want to know my top five most can't stand teams? And you can tell me yours. So, Florida
Okay.
number one because I just can't
Yeah.
stand them. Tennessee number two. This next one's going to kind of shock you. Probably not. Bama number three,
Okay.
and then I would have to say Ohio State number four. Even though we don't play them every year, it's just because their coach whined for how many years because of the hit during the
Oh,
Georgia
Urban
game.
Meyer and stuff.
No, not Urban
Or
Meyer.
no, Ryan Day.
Ryan
Ryan
Day
Day.
complained about the hit against Georgia or whatever. And then
Yeah.
five, I probably have to say it's not because Mississippi State because they're fans. Those stupid cowbells, I can't stand them. They give me a headache. Those are the five most can't stand teams ever for me.
This is a tough list. I
Auburn
grew
number
up.
one.
Well, I might hold off on that. And I'll hold off on Georgia because I'm not going to get into any arguments with you tonight.
I'm not gonna argue with you. You're good.
All right, fine. Georgia number one right now because they're taking my team's place, and it's not fair, Ches. And all of you dummy dogs act like you're better than Bama. Look, why don't you beat us in Tuscaloosa this year, and then we'll talk.
All right, Ballard. You just signed it, delivered it. It's, maybe it'll happen. Okay,
No,
so
maybe Georgia at the moment. Georgia
yeah.
number one. Number two. Hey, Ohio State
Okay.
football. Because they, do you know this? They trademarked the word the. They trademarked three letters of the alphabet, and they also took our quarterback, Julian Sayin. Now, he's probably not going to start this year, but he will start soon at Ohio State, and I wish him luck. But
Mm-hmm.
holy cow, man. Plus, you took Caleb Downs from us? Oh, heck no. I'm not putting up with that crap. I'm not. I'm just
Ballard's
not.
mad. Ballard's mad.
Oh my
Everybody.
gosh. The Buckeyes a poisonous nut, dude.
Po-
Raccoons won't touch it.
a
Dummies.
poisonous nut.
Nobody likes you.
All right, so that's what three teams. What's your last two?
What other teams other than Georgia and Ohio State did I
Auburn.
say? Well,
Oh wait, no, no, no. You got
that's a.
four more. No, yeah, you got three more. Auburn's
I
got to be
did
on there, right?
Georgia, Ohio State. I will say Auburn. I mean, I've kind of warmed up a little bit to the fan base and everything. Like Auburn fans are really nice up here. They really, really are.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when they beat Alabama and stuff, boy, do they go wild on Twitter, and boy, do I suspend my account for various reasons. Oh my gosh. Listen, that hasn't happened since 2019, but I don't know. They took 2 5-star wide receivers in the state, and I promise you, man, on Twitter and everything, they're going nuts. Oh, this will be the year we're gonna win at Bryant. We're gonna. I'm going to that game, man. I swear, if y'all win, it's because I went to the game. Listen, I might be a bad luck charm for Alabama. I don't know. I mean, we did win the Vanderbilt game in 2022, but I had a bad day at 8A this year, so I'm not really here to put up with any garbage as far as Alabama losing the Iron Bowl this year.
Garbage. Garbage.
Gosh.
All right, so you got Auburn. Who's your last team? No, let's say that's four. Yeah, last team. Tennessee.
Uh, I love you, BVD. I don't know. What other teams do I hate? Who do I love to pick on? I guess it'd be Tennessee because it's just funny when they hype themselves up and then fall flat on their face. Plus, I just hate them. They low down, they dirty, they some snitches. I
Are
hate
you
they
really quoting
colors.
the music video right now?
I hate they colors. It's not that that orange you can sit with, Chess. It's that puke throw up inside of a pumpkin. And I just don't like pumpkins.
Ballard is quoting the music video from like 2009. Good God.
I love
Ballard,
it.
I
That's
think this.
probably my no legit. That have to be my no, I don't know. Clemson. If I had to replace Tennessee, I
Oh, the
really don't
Booty Hole
hate
Bandits.
Tennessee. Clemson gets all mine. Oh my gosh.
The Booty Hole Bandits.
Oh my gosh. And Dabo Swinney don't even get me started.
I thought Dabo Swinney was going to be the next head coach of Alabama, if I'm being honest.
No, he's not. He's not leaving Clemson.
What about Gus Malzahn?
I'd rather have him than Dabo just because he's not really a crybaby. I mean, he might
Well, if
chew
you
his bubble gum and stuff and
if
go,
you get Dabo,
boo.
if you get Dabo, then you can go ahead and guarantee the transfer portal's never going to be touched at your school.
That's why, dude, zero transfers. Zero. That can't fly today in college football. You have to utilize the portal. It's more than just going out to some high schooler's home, meeting his mom and dad, eating some apple pie, and saying, come on down and rub on Howard's Rock.
Ew,
It's more than that.
I ain't touching
You
Howard's
gotta
Rock.
utilize the portal.
I'm not touching any kind of rock that somebody wants me to rub. That's creepy. I'll kick that rock down the hill. I don't care. I'll probably go to jail for that, but I don't care, dude. I can't. Pete's cool, but he's the only cool Clemson fan that I know. So, Ballard, these people got to go to bed. Let's go ahead and send them out with a bang, a happy New Year.
Bye. Love y'all. Love you, Chess. Thank you, buddy.